Everyone in our line of work has a story, whether it's how they got involved in all this, or what difference they made, or how their commitment was reinforced. For me, it was this. I was reading The Guardian, the online newspapers here in the UK, and I realized something shocking, that the Maldives, the island nation, were looking for a new homeland in India. Were actually trying to scout some possible relocation areas. And it shocked me because I couldn't imagine it. I couldn't imagine my own hometown being relocated. I couldn't even imagine my whole region not being there anymore. It was impossible for me to think of a whole country, of a whole nation, having to find another place on this planet because of the adverse effects of climate change. I had already joined the Sustainable Development Movement then, and this only reinforced my commitment to the cause. I realized that it was no longer only about quality of life or livelihoods. It was about lives. It was about people. It was about being actually able to live in this planet in 20, 30 years from now, or even sooner for some people like those in the Maldives. And then there was something else I realized. That one wasn't the only crisis. Yes, there is a climate crisis, but there are so many others. There is a food crisis. The food prices are rising all over the world, and shortages are even more present and challenging. There's a financial crisis. There's an unemployment crisis, especially among young people that is felt the most. And all of these crises are connected. They're not isolated incidents. They're symptoms and patterns of root causes that are having a much profound impact on the way we live on this planet. And all this complex system and the linkages between the elements in the system, all this is what Rio Plus 20 is about. 20 years after the original Earth Summit, world leaders are gathering again in Rio de Janeiro in June this year to review the commitments and to tackle the new and emerging challenges that we've been having since 1992. Now, the UN and especially the Secretary General announced this as the most historical UN summit ever. There are about 50,000 people expected in those days in Rio, between government delegations and NGOs and business representatives and young people and many others. Expectations, however, are low compared to the challenges at hand. Not all world leaders have committed to go to Rio. The negotiation text that is currently being discussed in New York at the UN headquarters is not giving us the radical system-changing solutions we need. And it seems like we're going to be rehashing old commitments, just like in a sort of weird relationship drama, with one person saying, I promise, I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to stop breaking the world if I don't know how to fix it. This time is for real. I mean it. And it's hard to believe those promises. They have been there for a while, and we have been hearing world leaders and other stakeholders mentioning them over and over without actual implementation following up to those promises. So this is the context where we started. I'm coordinating a youth-led coalition called Road to Rio Plus 20. We're around 100 partner organizations from all over the world. And we want to make sure that this summit delivers, that the potential that this Earth Summit has is fulfilled. We're not on track at the moment, but we can be. And this is how. First of all, we need everyone to know about the Earth Summit. We need to tell everyone what is the Earth Summit about, what are the challenges it's trying to face, and why is it so crucial right now, at the height of all of these crises, to actually get involved. It's a unique opportunity. You don't get 160 or hopefully 190 world leaders, heads of states and governments around the same table talking about these fundamental systemic issues. Very often you don't get that. It's a once in a generation opportunity. And this is the opportunity we have, and we have to make the best of it. Road to Rio Plus 20 is focusing on that. It's focusing on making sure that what happens inside these UN buildings goes outside, on the streets, in the living rooms, to create a people's movement that addresses sustainable development. We don't want to replicate the old dynamic of world leaders inside these UN buildings and civil society protesting outside. We want to be constructive. We want to do things. We want to do things in partnership. And we want to both push world leaders, whether it's businesses or governments, to play their role, but we also want to play the role ourselves. And we want to instill in everyone the sense that we have a long-term responsibility for future generations. We need education. We need education in schools, in universities, and even informal education through youth organizations like ours, to make sure that everybody understands these challenges from early stages in life. And we need media, especially traditional mainstream media, to promote these positive messages, not to paint only very narrow pictures of crises around the world, but showing the solutions, showing that young people are playing that positive role in making a more sustainable world. We need to recognize that we're dependent on our planet, whether we want it or not, and that there's a strong correlation between what we do and how the planet responds. And we need to act now, because the urgency is higher than ever, and the only way to solve this is by acting. There's no more time for talking. So, what did we do so far? There are two main initiatives that Road to Rio Plus 20 is supporting. One is a campaign called Rio Plus U. Rio Plus U is an awareness-raising campaign about sustainable development, about the Earth Summit, that is taking the concept of sustainable development and making it our own. It's you who are in charge of making the world more sustainable. It's you who has the potential and the resources and the talent to make it happen. In the Rio Plus U framework, we have been organizing dozens and dozens of events around the world. Now, you might ask, how do I get involved in all this? What's the role that I have to play? You need a vision. You cannot go anywhere without a vision. And this conversation that we're promoting, the future that you want, is really about taking the time to think, what does my future look like? What's the ideal world that I want to live in? And then, with that blueprint in mind, make it happen starting from your own community, starting from your own city and country. There are efforts like this happening already around the world, and we are trying to coordinate them. We're trying to let people in Cambodia know what those in Colombia are doing. We are trying to show what a student organization in the Netherlands can teach another student organization in the US. We are here to showcase the positive efforts that people around the world are doing so that they can inspire each other and help each other out in doing even more. And doing that in a coordinated way that addresses the root causes and the complex system as a whole of sustainable development. Not trying to fix quickly the symptoms of this unsustainable system, but addressing the root causes. And we can help. And we want to help you. And we want to give voice to your own efforts. So please join us in our mobilization. Make the Earth Summit what it should be. A historical moment for our generation, and the transition point, a turning point that will put our world on a more sustainable path. Thank you.